That can happen once in a while, but not for weeks or months. When the patient party comes, they see this happening for a long time. But good question. So if you just out of nowhere give a sample, you may not be able to claim that. So when you give a samples, you ask the computer to tell whether the computer thinks it is something. If the computer says yes, it's a disease, doesn't mean that that person has a disease. It only indicates that it's important that you go to the doctor. And that can be false error. What kind of false error? That can happen. But it is better than having the problem and not getting detected at all because you are at home. Right? That means as long as you detect those which are having problems, on top of you make mistakes that probably is not the right reason, but still say, go to doctor and get it verified. That's what happens. Even if you do a test, for example, if you blood pressure test or like being in Bangalore, for me, last week it happened that my vitamin D level went down. And that causes some symptoms. They went and doctor says, no, it's okay, and it can happen because there's no sound effect. So just chill out, no problem, right? So that's any test you do, computerized or any biological test, that can raise a flag for the doctor to judge from many other angles. Important that. But that's a good question. Okay, so I hope it's clear now, right? That PD has this symptom. But symptoms are kind of similar, but there are differences in the speech, right? Any questions so far from you? Yeah.
For PD, it's only speech.
No, there are
other organs are working properly, only speech.
No, it can happen altogether. All of this can happen. One or many of these. So I have seen patients where they don't have any speech problem, only motion problem. There are patients who have only speech, but motions are all fine. There are both. So the people who have speech problem are called bulbar type, ULBR, bulbar. People who doesn't have speech problem called spinal neurological disorder. Okay. So I hope everyone is clear now about dysarsthia, about ALS and PD. It is all in version 0 for dummies. When you don't know anything, I don't know. Okay, good. So now let's move on. The question is how often this happens. For ALS, it is not that very and good that it is not, by the way, because once it happens, you have got a death sentence. So worldwide, it is from 100,000, nearly 2 of them gets. But in India, it is 1 out of 100. People say that it's lifestyle. In India, we are much better off with lifestyle and all that. That's the reason. But India, with so many population, 130 billion, you can see the number of it. It's not small. It actually. But for the PD, it is nearly 7 to 10 million worldwide that is affected at any point of time. So which is quite significant. Right? So that's it's not like asthma that happens left, right? And it should not happen. But the concern is that these diseases are increasing. These diseases are increasing. Over last few years, the trend is going up, and for various reasons. So that's the incident response. Now, what about life expectancy? If you get ALS, if you get PPD, how long you are expected to live? So for ALS, 50% of the people will live only for 3 years or so. 20% of the people 5 years or so, but 10% will actually live 10 years. Actually, to be fact, there is no reason to live with it. Better to be in the first category. My personal reaction to this. Actually, this last 10% of the people will be the most suffering person with this. How about PD? For PD, the good news is the following. For PD, there has been some development in the medical field as well as engineering field that has helped PD patients to live longer. from 9.4 years to 14.6 years. See the difference. Whereas health, so the technology is needed to give them support. Clear, everybody? So you understand to what extent these diseases actually happen, and if it happens, what happens to somebody's life. Okay. So as I said a while ago, right, there is no specific test or specific treatment for this disease. No specific test available. So diagnosis is typically done based on medical history and neurological evidence, and no cure exists. So you can only do what is called management. It's called dysarthria management. Neurological disorder management. So just management. That's all. Is that clear? So it's a disease that is life-threatening and challenging for me. This slide is very important. This slide shows throughout the world there have been a lot of awareness program happening for you. For example, before this talk today, I'm sure many of you didn't know about this at all. And what happens when you do not know? You mistreat this patient. You laugh at this patient. That should not happen. So people throughout the world, starting from ice bandage chair. How does it pass out ice bandage? You know that? Okay, Google it out. You just search for ALS ice bucket chair. I mean, these people are very famous celebrities. So they are doing it for all people to know that we should come forward and raise money, help this. So there have been people with ALS who have been giving support to draw with their whatever little movement of the head. With their finger, whatever little they can tap, can they ride a wheelchair? And you may know about Stephen Hawking, right? What Stephen? You know what happened to him? What happened? He got this MND, and he got early in his career. But IBM developed something dedicated for him, that he can think, he will be spoken. In fact, I was in a conference when he was a speaker. Of course, he don't know. So his voice came, of course, with the screen that was there. The entire speech for 10 minutes was he was thinking what to speak, and it was he generated. That's a technology speech, of course, to partly work on, but not fully, but that it is. But that doesn't mean just because it happened for Stephen Hawking, it will happen for any of you. No. To make it work for an individual, it takes a lot of effort, tuning, and because he is a great scientist, of course, I will take all that. So, what all this shows is that today we should be aware. This is one of the purpose I am talking about. I wish you all go back and talk to your friends, colleagues, and neighbors and know that this is a problem today throughout the world and we need to come forward. Okay. In fact, because we started doing this work, we started getting a lot of calls. So, for example, last month we got a call from a person in Kolkata. This person got ALS, and his wife actually had a video call. This person was old enough, by the way, coming from. He couldn't speak anything, but his wife was there. So we are trying to see. So, but his wife was saying, we don't understand now what he's saying. So, even he writes multiple times, this is what you're saying, this is what you're saying. When you tell him, he cannot even move his hand or head to say yes or no. This is okay. So we are trying to see if you can make some sounds. For example, if you can make at least or then you can match. Okay, if you say e, then it will be I want water. You say e, then it will be I want to go to bathroom. That distance is great. Right? So it is in that stage. In fact, there are two major organizations in India. One is for ALS. It's called ALS Society for ALS. And they are doing a lot of work. The lady who is leading that, she herself has ALS. I just get surprised and hey, they come forward, talk to us. So we are introduced a video call with them. And she is so energetic with all that disease that is not allowing her to speak even. And she is seeking help. That can you come forward, ask to come? There are some 500 people. There are two of them, we talk to both of them. But each of them their own challenges and problems. And when technology will actually help them, we do not know. This is just the scratching the surface. They need to develop a technology that actually cater to people. Because a lot of efforts. If people like you, what? We need funding agencies who will actually come forward. We need companies who will take it to the people, test it out, make sure it happens. Right? For example, medicine when it comes to your pocket, doesn't come in one day. It takes years to get tested, validated, and then come. It's a long process. It takes a lot of attention. Nonetheless, I'd like to mention about this man. Uh, do you know what is Paralympics? You know Paralympics? Correct. Olympics or disabled. So I didn't know about that, but it happened that I was watching the closing ceremony of the Olympics 2021, and then they are playing. They're showing this picture on the screen and playing a music composed by him. Everybody was seeing. Then I said, okay, let me go and see. Then I found that his name is a French composer called Ieee. He is paralyzed because of ALS. But you should just search his name out, Google it out. You'll see that he's lying down in front of him is a big screen with music software installed, which he can control by iPhone. Every button he can. With that he's composing to this day. And is being played in the closing ceremony of Paralympics. Imagine the kind of support that is need and they look. So this is a great motivation for people who are suffering from and of course it's a motivation for us. Okay, great. I hope you got a picture of what I'm going to talk about. We are still miles to go in the talk, but any question? So I didn't enter the technical part at all myself. We should be of course board. But I hope with this much of motivation waiting to see what we found this morning. We have just scratched the surface. Don't think that at the end of the talk I'll say, I've solved the problem. And now, if you know somebody else, I'll give you the guys. No, it's not that. And that's the second part we'll tell you why it's not. But any other question? Okay. But I have a question. So suppose a patient comes, and we have seen, right? There are multiple patients, they are in different severity, right? So how do you tell this patient is very severe, this patient is not so severe, or this patient is little mild, right? How do you tell that? What do you do? After all this so far you have heard, what do you think you do? By being a patient, how do you judge that this is severe or not severe? What is needed? You cannot be able to tell, but what do you think will be needed to decide the severity level? Right? See, in the blood sugar test, we know the value range, right? So, by looking at the value of how far it is from normal people, then you can say it's very severe or not. This cannot do that. There is no test. Only speech, because it's not only speech, right? There are many other. So, what will you do? What is the procedure you take up to tell their severity? See, this is good that it's attempted, but this has to be really standardized, right? Throughout the world. People should use the same logic to tell it's more severe than this. So because of that, this two cases. First one is called ALS-FRS-R. ALS Functional Rating Scale Revised. That's the scale that is used to give a score to the person to know how severe it is. And this is called MDS-UPDRS. Unified Parkinson's Disease Rating Scale from the MDS, the Movement Disorder Society. These are the two scores used to quantify the severity level for ALS or PD. Then now we are going to learn what is ALS, what is this each of these, and how we get. There is no test, right? So this is what happens. The ALS-FRS is from this paper, which was published in 1999. And in this paper, what happens? They list out this set of questions that a neurologist and a speech pathologist has to answer. And the final score will be a combination of all. So let's see the first question. They ask, how about the speech of the person? Is it normal? Is it detectable speech disturbance? Intelligible with repetition? Speech combined with non-vocal communication? Then loss of useful speech. So this is from 4 to 0. So 4 meaning this is perfectly fine. 0 means it is lost. So by talking to the person, doctor gives us the then it goes to salivation. Whether the person can normal does a normal salivation, all the way up to mark drooling, saliva comes out. Similarly, swallowing, handwriting, cutting food, handling utensils. They're all important because you have to motor skills are coming to play. Right? Then dressing. You can even wear your own shirt. Turning in bed while sleeping can even turn one side to the other side. Walking. So all these are tested. And for each of them you get a score. And all this together tells you what is the singularity. These are standard. I'm talking about this. So this is a paper from Nigeria. That also. From MDS PDRS, this is from the Movement Disorder Society. Right? Here you have again a large set of questions. Actually more than ALS. Okay? So the first one is with non-motor aspect. The next one is with motor aspect, in which speech is there. So I would just like to highlight that to evaluate the severity, there's so much of investigation, examination has to be done. And certainly speech is one of it. So in the case of speech, this is what happens. We tell from 0 to 4, normal to severe, and same kind of. So essentially, that is similar scale or rating, but for these two diseases, you have two different set of questions. Motor examination, speech is there, and many other. You see facial expression, posture, gaze, everything, and also motor complications. I'm not going to go through this one. That's too much time. For example, the time spent on the off state. If you can see what happens with this patient is because they know they can't communicate, they become silent. That is the biggest problem. Can't engage. So that's all about. So that's those are the two scale that happens, right? So two things again we learned that for ALS, doctors use ALS FRS or for telling how bad is the condition, and for PD it is MDS. Now the question I was asking in the beginning, right? If it is for speech, what are the tasks we should ask them? What are the things that you ask them to speak so that it reveals the condition very well? But if you just tell them to speak maybe that should be okay. But if you say them speak asa, that will be right. You do not know because it depends on the understanding of the speech production and what parts of this entire production system gets done. So here it's a very complicated table for you, but I will simplify it. So here you see the types of results, and here you see features that contributes to speech. So give you one example. For example, articulation inaccuracy is what? Meaning you are not able to use your articulator in the way it is supposed to. Suppose I ask you to say cha, you say ah. Cannot speak because cannot lift your tongue and hit that. That's called articulation inaccuracy. So in all the kinds of conditions, I'll tell you what are these different. These different conditions happen because of different levels of neuron that is there. We'll talk about that. But in different types of dysarthria, almost all of them articulation accuracy goes. For example, I can highlight let's say nasal examination. What does that mean? What does that mean? It means that your sound, as I said, no, you're speaking like this. Right? So we examine whether the sound is coming out of nasal or not. Not in all dysarthritis conditions this happens. Only in 2 of them. Similarly, you can have let's say harsh voice. Your voice will become like not squeeze and it will become very rough or harsh. That happens slowly, right? So depending on the parameter or feature or speech and the dyserthria type, some of these will be affected. That's some of it. But it doesn't mean you have to now digest it. That's not. But you know that it's a wide set of landscape in which some may go bad, some may not go bad. But overall, in each of these cases, depending on whether you have articulation inaccuracy or a voicing quality or a visualization, you get that kind of distortion, damage. And here is this different types of dyserthria and what part of the neuron that gets damaged. This is taken from this and the symptoms that is. So this is a very clinical slide, I'll say, telling exactly what happens when you have certain kind of what part of the motor neuron gets damaged, right? But from an engineering angle, it's not something that we'll spend time on now, right? But if you're interested, you can go through this part. So for the doctors, pathologists to really understand this complex landscape of this disease and come up with what each task will come up and is a very challenging thing. But doctors have done it. And then this is the answer of that exercise. So first, if because of dyserthria respiratory frontal coordination is gone, meaning you have your muscle which controls lungs is compromised, then sustained voicing of vowels will reduce. Why? Because what is sustained voicing of vowels? I was asking to speak E for a long time. But if you have not that much good control over your muscle, you won't be able to sustain that. You have to follow. That's the respiratory frontal coordination that is captured by through this task. So this task is given to patients to understand if they have lost respiratory frontal. The next one is called diadochokinesis testing, also called DDK. What does it mean? Here, you'll be asked, or the patient will be asked to speak small syllable repeated number, right? Pa 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 pa. Very difficult. So that's what I'm saying. It's very easy for you, but I'll play now. You will see how pathetic their production is for the simple task. And this happens because you lose coordination of these muscles to repeat the same. And finally, natural speech. You ask that person to speak natural. And that's the that will reveal all other speech languages. Now I'm going to play examples for this diadochokinesis. Pa pa pa. So this is the ALS person recording. This is the waveform. This is the spectrogram. How many of you know spectrogram? Fine. Oh, you know, good. So it's not that you have to know. This is waveform, meaning this is like the audio file that is after record. PD, this is how it looks. Healthy, this is how it looks. So let me play that.
Let's see this.
He was asked to speak papa papa. And as fast as you can. You think again. In the life. That's what happened. Now for the PD, you can see he's struggling, right? Sound okay, right? But no. Then you would have laughed at that guy. Here, you hear this.
This is how the healthy person looks like. And you'll also do that, I'm sure.
Right? So they are asked to speak like this. Both inhalers, they inhale. Now let us look at this very carefully. So What I'm plotting here is the audio clip for 1 second, 0 to 1. It's 1 second. You can see this ALS person only puts the 1 second. The PD could do 4 times. And the healthy person can do 7, 8 times. More than that. So this test is very well known in this community to detect that or the this is called diadochokinesis, DDK. Right? So this is one of them. I'm just showing the example here. Right? But other tasks will also be done. I'll play some more examples. Is this clear what's happening here? Anybody has any questions? Okay. So do you think now if I ask a person to speak papa like this and record, and I want a computer to detect whether this person has ALS symptoms or a PD symptoms or a healthy, can I do that? Looks like yes, right? You can hear and do it, but can you a computer do it? Looks like simple enough, but we'll see that it's not that simple. This is a very extreme case, by the way. This is an ALS with most severe condition. But ALS is not so severe, won't be as bad. It will be close to it. So what are the features? What are the characteristics? What are the representations? From the figure you can figure out to tell that this person has problem. Okay. Alright, that brings to the end of first part. How long do we want time? When should I stop? What is the time till when I'm supposed to for the first phase? Okay, so I'll go a little over 12:30 and then close the second part. Then we'll come back and spend time with the last part. Okay. So now, given that we have understood all of this, right? What is dysarthria, symptoms for this LSPD, all of this, and speech characteristics, right? So now you know what are the problems. Now let me tell you one thing, that when a person has a speech which sounds like what we just heard, does not mean that person has developed. What we said so far is the other way around. If somebody has LSPD of Barber type, the speech is there. There are many other reasons which can cause your speech to be there. Just because your speech you can't decide that person. Yes. Because other examples. But this can flag that you have a problem. Please go and see it. That is it. Okay, now I'll tell you in this context that you have understood what is dysarthric speech, what are the challenge, what are the conditions, life expectancy, and all of that. A whole gamut of problems come. A lot of people are working on it to help this dysarthric. And here is a overview, and that's what we spend some nearly 7 slides in this talk. So, a large number of problems, starting from our quality of life. What are the things? Now, you see, if your entire body is paralyzed, but you can speak well, probably your quality of life will be compromised, but not in a manner where your entire thing is paralyzed. Right? Quality of life is a metric using which they quantify how pathetic is the life of it. Right? So we'll talk about that a bit. Then the other thing is called augmentative and alternative cognition, AAC. These are the ones where I was talking about using eye gaze to control. Can I help that person? Alternative cognition. Next is automatic dysarthric speech recognition. Like Alexa recognizes our speech. How many of you have Alexa at home? Raise your hand. Good, including over. Actually, Alexa can recognize only very fraction of people's voice. And you should watch some videos where there's a very funny video where there's a Punjabi guy who is asking Alexa, do you know what a famous person? And Alexa just doesn't get it. So Alexa keeps on saying, no, I do not know about it. No, I do not know. And it turns out that it's an Indian process, but they use some program which can only work for Android. So it is. So, recognizing speech is a big task. On top of that, recognizing this kind of speech will be even more problem. Right? What they are speaking, how is it? So, this is automatic diagnostic speech. Next is acoustic analysis of diagnosis. Meaning, what I just said, from the signal, can we find out what feature, what characteristic, what number will tell me a problematic sound versus a not. That's called the acoustic analysis. Acoustic means speech analysis. Then articulatory kinematic analysis. This is what I was mentioning, that you are placing some sensors and recording their motion. So can we measure the motion of the articulations and can see what is going on in the motions? And then of course the early detection as being of asking. So if you can at least create some program that can constantly keep on listening to you as you speak over phone or whatever, and give you signal that looks like you have some problem, looks like you have some. So that's called early detection. You see, there's so many kinds of problems that come. Huh? You appreciate all of them, I suppose, now because of the background that is just covering the past. It's now go over one by one. Quality of life. So here, let me tell you this one. Yeah, this will be more digested. So, question is, if I have to tell the quality of life, can I say how much severity of dysertia, drop in severity of dysertia or increase in severity will impact the quality? Meaning, suppose I say, I go and find out 100 people who have dysertia. Listen to this. I get 100 people. I go to each of them, record. Go to doctor and say, can you score from 0 to 4 on this? I'll get some score, right? Then I go and ask them, what do you think your life condition? They'll give some out of 1 to 10. First, that is correlated. Whenever severity goes up, the life goes down. It's always like this. So there's some, it could be not, because somebody has problem only speech, nothing else. Right? So you say, no, I'm fine. So the question is, what you should measure from his signal, not just speech, but body signals, that correlate well with quality. Right? Does the time, yeah, also another thing. Actually, this is a big question. Actually, this is a very, very important question. That's what doctor says. Suppose today it may be that one has dyslexia, but you have not been told that you will be much cheerful than what the doctor does. So the quality will suddenly drop down immediately. It's like death sentence. So the time of diagnosis is also important, because if you are detected early, then how does your quality of life goes down? Versus if you are detected later, how does your quality of life? Those are questions. Okay. Then about the AAC, augmentative and alternative cognition. The first I talked about eye track, right? So one very interesting thing I learned, that the entire body gets paralyzed when brain loses control, but few things does not. One of them is eyeball, because they are voluntary. There is no muscle that brain wants. Kidney, doesn't get it. And lung muscles to some extent, with great extent, but they don't do some. That's why they need to keep it. So I did, because the eye are voluntary and it stays without any problem in the death. So people have started using the eye movement to help them. There are a lot of people these days with ALS cannot move. They can use eye movement to online shopping. You'll be surprised, but it is. After talking to this association I'm talking about, they said many of our people are using this. They are sitting at home and ordering. Because they have to spend their time with something fun. There is brain computer interface. What is soft for in the case of student optics? Can you create something that can read their brain signal and understand? Voice message bank. As I said in the example, that if I say E, it will speak out. Give the order. Say E, I need to go to toilet. So you have a bank of voice messages, which will be spoken out for some of the signature. So these are all additional. Personalized TTS. TTS stands for text to speech. So, how many of you have heard about Bixby? Anybody heard about Bixby? Samsung Bixby. You should watch that YouTube. Just put it down Bixby. Just really motivating. They show that a small kid uh, uh, did not realize that his mother got infected with him and mother will die in one. That's why 1 year. But she only depends on her mother for everything. Her mother is the world. So Dixie comes to help kid talk to her mother even after her death. Have you seen this? Go and see. So what it does is records on that mother for this 1 year. What her mother says. Then now the computer can speak like recognize the kid. So it's kind of emotional. It shows that kid asks mother, "Do I go to school today? It's raining." Computer understands it, watches the weather outside, tells yes you should go but take an umbrella. In mother's beautiful, right? So this is called personalized teaching. You actually create something that caters to you. In fact, I think last month there was a news that it actually became viral, where I believe some French or some European lady who was died or she died, I think. And then they made a video of that person speaking to the family members. So it's like computer has mimicked that lady will know more. Not only speech, but everything. Has it on the screen and talking to the family members. So it's no more lost. You have everything. So what this is just changing the world altogether. I mean, we will not lose anybody. That's it. Right? But of course, these are just flashy news. We should go to the technology to see what are the limitations and what happens under some conditions. Okay, so this one. Next, I know we are all hungry. Just 3 more slides. This is us talking about ASR, meaning automatic speech recognition for weather systems. In fact, Google is working. Google has a big project on weather systems. They know the value. The reason is, in 10 years from now, you will see this field will just grow so much. Everyone will jump in. Unfortunately for India, nobody is coming forward. Because the problem is just doing. You can see from the nation data that how that is. So Google is into it. I'm sure they will have some solution. Okay. Next is acoustic analysis. Here are some terms used, terminology which you may not understand, but that's okay. Formats. Anybody heard formats? Who has worked in speaking? So how does the format change if you have this versus now? House space. How the house space change? I'm not going to explain house space now. So we need to explain lunch now, not house. Okay. Speaking rate. Right? How is your speaking rate? Actually, speaking rate goes down, right? The saying pause pattern. Actually, when they speak, we found that they pause that really irregular instant and not very much giving the pause at right moment, which would sound like a natural. Prosodic as there are prosodic changes. Prosodic is what? Your pitch. For example, I say, if I ask, are you going? Versus, are you going? These are two different meanings. These people cannot do that. They can't control the prosodic. Then, of course, dialectic speech detection. I mean, what features are there to detect speech? And this is something with, as I said, we are recording with articulograph, where it's a device which can record the motion of the sensors and doing the analysis. What is the speed? What we have found here, we have done some work, found that the motion, the acceleration is not the motion. For example, the acceleration which the tongue moves up is way different than it. It's not motion, not velocity. Then early detection and monitoring, of course, these are obvious things, right? Can we discover speech features, cues that can tell early enough that this is a problem? And can we take speech parameters to say which the disease, as I was talking about right, in the beginning, what doctors want? Can we track the disease condition with going data? So these are all gamut of problems, and for each of them, as you see, I've given reference, right, for each case. A lot of people are working on interestingly, but very few, actually not many people at all for India languages. And you know, English, if it is English, then there are a lot of resources. But for Indian language, there is not. Important. And that's why we need to come forward. With that, I'll stop. Wait for questions, a discussion point, then we'll come back and start from some experiments that will give some time. As one of our senior faculty tell, when there is silence after your talk, it means either the audience got everything you said or nothing you said. So, any other comment? Okay, thank you. Anything else you're curious about? It is only one. You can see it. That is important. See things, but yes. Any other? I'll come there next time. I can give a sketch unless you are bored or what happens. So, any of you know at least what is Fourier transform? Everybody knows Fourier transform, raise hand. Fourier transform. So, are you all from engineering department or non-engineering department? Or anybody non-engineering? Okay, I mean, engineering department and we have not heard Fourier is rare event. The Fourier is like father of so, suppose I have a signal, this is a recording, right? Then, what we do, this is a long recording. Right? What we do is we take a chunk from here to it could be, let's say, 1/10 of a second and compute a Fourier transform. To compute a Fourier transform, what does it mean? Spectra. Think at what frequency, what is the gain? So, ideally, we get a picture like this, right? From 0 hertz to some highest frequency. What I'll do, I'll take, so this is an array, right? Array of points. What I'll do, I'll transpose this and make it a column bit. So this is this value, will go here. Next value, go here. Like that. So this value to this value will be like this. Okay? Then I do the following. I go here and take the next chunk. Whether this is 0 hertz, this is 4 kilo. Right? Take the next chunk, I get another vector. No? Like that. 0, 2. Isn't it? And keep on doing this and keep on getting vectors. Isn't it? So all vectors will be the same length. Then I put them together. This will become the columns of a matrix. And each rows are one frequency. So it will tell what is the gain at that frequency in the first segment. What is the gain at the same frequency in the second segment. So this matrix, when shown as an image, looks like that. So you can see now, when you are saying sounds like ah, so this is an image where the red values are high, the blue values are low. In between it is red, to say color part or color map. Blue to red. Blue is the lowest, red is the highest. So it shows that when you are saying ah, then there is some high energy in the low frequency. But when you are not saying ah, you see that they go away. This is at 0 hertz up to 8 kilohertz. At 0 hertz, or otherwise 1000 or 500 hertz here, as you go over time, only during this period the gain becomes high. And then again it drops. Does it make sense? So this is telling at what time which frequency has what gain, or what strength. That's called the spectrogram. So this is a different way of seeing this, because in the waveform you won't be able to see, right? Which, and you can see now that as a healthy person, you see other frequencies also are having high values when the person is saying ah. But here that's not happening. It is not that the person is always slowly speaking, but also whatever he is speaking is not the same ah as that of the healthy person. So the question is, can machine understand all of that and distinguish between? That's the kind of experiment we'll be doing in the third step. Clear? Question on that. Any other question? Okay. So we have things like this. Okay. So there are three parts to audio. One is called the outer part. Then it's called the outer ear. Then it's called the middle ear. And then it's called the inner ear. What is the outer ear? Outer ear is what you see here. Have you ever wondered why you have this? No, not have this also. It has been flat. What is the problem? Does it look beautiful? There is a bigger one like an elephant. It will remain beautiful. What is this one? And why elephant has such a big one? Ears have such a tall one. Why? And we have such. You can easily see this. Correct? Almost there. You can easily do this or check this by putting your hands like this. And here, see what is the feel what is here versus this. Just do it. Don't feel shy. The experiment. Hello. No, you just speak this when I speak. Or even all the sound. What do you see when you put this? No, you should put both. Don't close it. Keep like this. Anybody explain what you can't explain anything? Yes. So when you put this, you get more sound. I don't really feel like that. The reason is when that sound propagates in the air, if there is only one small hole, only that much of sound will go in. But when you have such a cover, sound will come, reflect, and then go. So a lot more sound will go in. That's what is doing. Number one. Number two, none of our this thing is identical. They're all different in this structure. It's not pinna. Because, and of course, it's not just the pinna by the way. Sound comes, reflects here and goes. So I don't know whether you realize this when you take a haircut, you take a solid haircut. After, and you have this is a lot of hair, and then you throw everything off. Then you feel a difference in sound here. I don't know whether you are. The reason is even here also get reflected. So your entire body is a receptor. Depending on your body size, shape, torso, head size, all this. Even here also can go. So it controls what sound you use, what quality of sound you use. This is a very, very sophisticated antenna. Right? Now the outer ear is doing this job of receiving as much as possible. But whatever signal is coming in is not the signal that is going in. Why? Because simple engineering. Suppose the signal is coming in. Right? One signal directly goes. There are many other signals gets reflected and goes in. Isn't it? So So suppose the original signal is x, that is this guy. Then along with that, you also have x passed through a signal, passed through another path. Let's call that h1. This is a convolution. Anybody knows convolution? Signal processes. So it's like a system which is converting the signal. So x plus x convolved plus x convolved with h. And there are many. So you receive actually this, not the x. Actually, you never can receive only x. Impossible. That is the first double thing. Does it help? Yes, of course. This will help us. So think of this way. And also one question: why do we have 2x? Anybody? Why not 3? Or why only 1 and not 2? Only 1 in the middle. Ah, sorry. Somebody said. Why 2? Yes. Yes. You know where which side the sound is coming from. Now, if you, for example, the sound is here, then this here will come faster than this. So you know that okay, this is up. But there is a problem. This is called a equal distance circle. Suppose take a circle, take a line here passing through your fingers and draw a ring. From that ring, anywhere you take the distance to here is the same. In the proportional to the same. So anywhere there, the distance, the time taken to reach here will be t1, t2. It will be greater than t1. But it will be always t1 and it is always t2 because the distance is. Then how to find out whether it's from here or here or here? That's enough answer. So the way wherever it sounds down, the different will be different reflections, not the same. And we figure out what is that. So 2 years are for a gross detection of direction. And inner down even finer. This is that. But that is the outer layer. Not only that, the outer layer, if you take this whole thing, no, you can write it as x on one with identity plus h1 plus h2, right? Plus h3. It's like a big system. So x is passing through this big system. And it changes x. But it turns out this system has a very interesting characteristic. It emphasizes some frequencies. And that is due to the frequency at which we have the most intelligence. For example, let's say speech, right? See, for example, telephone, the landline or the PSTN lines. You know what is the frequency that are preserved there? 60? Correct, up to 4, but yes. Here it is there. So 300 hertz to 3.75. That is because people have experimented and found that that is the minimum it should have for it to be intelligent. And this guy sitting outside is boosting that region of this filter. You can think of this as a system which is emphasizing that one. Because it knows that I need to only boost that. So this didn't happen one day. It happened with evolution. Here it comes today, right? It's evolution keeps change. And it's got embedded into the next generation of world. This is the only outer layer, right? In the middle layer, it's like a tunnel from here to here, right? But there is a, I don't exactly recall now, there is a, here somewhere, there is a passage called Eustachian tube. Do you know that? Yes, it's connected. So when I came today in the flight, this happened. So there is a bulb which gets, so when the air pressure changes, no? Suppose you are in the plane landing. So air pressure increases because the top pressure is low. So once the pressure increases, the pressure goes through and then there is a bulb which gets really pressed, hard pressed. So what happens is to compensate for the pressure difference. So inside the mouth in the body lower pressure, right? Because things get adjusted. So actually, if it's too much pressure, because it will get rupture. That can happen, can bleed. It can recover itself. Not a problem, right? So what you typically suggested to do is that you block your mouth and then blow. Then the air pressure will go up, and this will get adjusted. That's called the eustachian tube connecting. There are many other reasons why it is. So this is like a channel. If there is a disease or anything, this is a pathway to please go. Many other reasons. That's a biological. But nonetheless, let's come back. So after that, in the middle here, there are three bones, small bones. They are called malleus intraspinatus. These bones are just amazing. They are hanging in a, I think, 4 centimeter tube. Very small. Three bones. Why three bones? Could have been one. No, each of them has their own. Each of them are having functionalities for a single processing. So each of them, first of all, what goes in here is the air pressure, right? That hits the first bone. This is right after this. Forget that. So it hits the first bone, the bone starts vibrating. Very subtle and lightweight bone. Then that bone in turn moves the next bone. Now imagine if you take away one bone, you will stop hearing. It's so subtle, so fine, so delicate, placed in the right position, never to disturb your entire life. And I mean, there have been some, I'm talking to some MD, doctor, who are trying to design a hearing aid, who has lost their hearing. To actually utilize that space to place the hearing, not in the brain, because it will be operational. We think that this is the best place working on that, nonetheless. So this, what it this does, converts acoustic air vibration to mechanical vibration. Okay? That's the job of the medium. And then the inner ear is called, cochlea. So this is a snail-like structure. So it's more like a tube whose diameter is reducing as you go along, and then it's coiled. So this is the tube. Now think of it, it's very narrow by the way. It's not that such thick, very narrow. I think the opening may be 1 or 2 centimeters. Very, very small. And now this tube is coiled. It will look like this. Right? So there is a hole in this tube where this last bone ends, and there is a membrane. And this tube is full with liquid. There is a liquid in this tube. And in the middle of the tube, in this liquid, there is a membrane hanging. Okay. Now, and this is coiled, right? Now there is a hole where the mechanical vibration is vibrating a membrane. Right? When the membrane vibrates, what will happen? It's like in a water you are tapping. So that vibration will go through the all tube. So the vibration travels through this. Actually, it travels like this. So the entire liquid vibrates, and this membrane in the middle also vibrates. Now, out of all of these, what is magic is the following. You play a sound like versus you play a sound like which one is higher frequency? Second. So it turns out that if I play a lower frequency, this membrane, whatever happens inside, we don't know, right? The liquid motion happens. But at the end, this little membrane vibrates only here, at one place, for this one frequency. But if you increase the frequency, it vibrates at a different location. So depending on what is your frequency of the sound that is going in, different parts of the membrane vibrates. So what was acoustic vibration? That got converted to mechanical vibration. That now got converted into still mechanical vibration, but is now position encoded depending on frequency. What frequency the sound is coming, depending on that, different parts of this membrane starts vibrating. Of course, speech is not one frequency. I just needed two different frequencies for speech. So now, what is more interesting is to make things very simple. From this entire body of this tube, there are cells which connects to the neurons. This is called the body. This connects to the auditory path. So it's just sound several 100,000 neurons. Okay. So these neurons, see, this part is vibrating. Then only these neurons get excited. So the brain listens only from that part of it. So there are 100,000 neurons, but only few of them reject message to them. This part, then some other system. But another thing important, this is 10 kilohertz, 10 hertz, right? So this is the lowest. This is the highest frequency. Let's say it is 20 kilohertz. 10 hertz to 20 kilohertz. But it doesn't mean the 10 kilohertz is here. No. 10 kilohertz is here. Not in the middle. So it doesn't follow a linear scale. It follows a logarithm scale. So there is a mapping between the frequency to the location. That's called the chronotopic map. So see how his brain will understand, right? What you are speaking. Brain has to understand the frequency. And how the brain will understand? He has kept all his guards. They're like bodyguards. They are telling, I got this frequency, I got this frequency, so they are keeping on telling you, continuous. This happens always, by the way, continuously. So now this message is going to the brain all the time. So you can say, what I just showed as a spectrogram, right? If you take this to be a frequency, which time this neuron is firing, right? If there is a frequency. So that R that I showed, at that frequency, right, at a particular frequency over time, brain will, so for example, you take this frequency, here there is no gain, then finally there is gain, right? So what will happen? The neuron will fire when there is a signal at that. So this neuron will fire only when there is a gain of some intensity. So what is going out from here is actually something like spectrum. So this part, inner part, it does a frequency analysis. It does a spectrum analysis. Works as a spectrum. That is amazing. So what you hear in Fourier transform, what you do in Fourier transform is being done in here. But this simplistic version of it, there are a lot of details here that you have to understand for the rest. There is a good book called On Hearing. If you are interested in that, by B.C.J. Moore. On Hearing. Beautiful book. So now this message goes, and the brain, what brain does on top of it is very difficult. See, it's actually taking, by the way, these neurons take spikes, you know that. Neurons only carry spikes. Whenever potential goes above a threshold, just generates a spike. So through each channel, you get a, you can think of this kind of signal. Spike, then zero. Again spike, again spike. Like that signal goes through each. It's very sparse signal. 1, 0. But there are 100,000 always going. And we do not know what brain is doing. We do not know. We only know up to, so this is actually called the peripheral auditory system. And we have a good understanding of it. Beyond that, what happens? The auditory internal brains, we do not know. Now, I hope you understood what I'm saying to some extent. It's not good. No, this is at the input. Yes. So what comes here is this. So already, the other thing up here. What enters in is this. Just a modified signal. Now you see, I did a big claim here. I thought somebody will stop. But nobody stopped. I claim that when I play a frequency of, let's say 20 kilohertz, this is at, let's say 100, right? And this is at let's say 500. That's what I claim now. 100 will be at 500. Meaning what? When you play 100 hertz frequency goes in. This part of this basilar memory, it's called basilar memory. This part of the basilar memory is not the other. But when I play 500 tone input, this part will be. How do you explain that out? Somebody is taking camera inside and sitting. How on earth can do that? Anybody any idea? Huh? How do you know that it is indeed vibrating inside? Huh? Neurons? No. You can't do anything with human. Do you think you can cut up a human and do the experiment? Nobody will give you ethics. By the way, this is a fascinating area. It's called psychoacoustics. To brief this. First of all, they did on monkeys because they can kill monkeys. So they got monkeys or with a crow. Because monkeys are closest. A lot of monkeys get their legs. Now on human they can't do this. How do you testing? So from monkeys they build a theory. They build a hypothesis. Then on human they do psychoacoustics. What is that? So they will make human listen to sound. And they design an experiment. There's a truly engineering experiment. They have an experiment in which a human response. Based on the response, you can answer which part of the experiment that. I'm not going to go there because it's longer 10 days. But this is by only listening on human nature. You're interested, you should look for psychoacoustics. So, knowing what's happening inside, I mean, periphery side is okay, but the experiment is so different. But now, one final point before I stop. Why do you think the Basel Amendment coiled it, not kept it back? Any reason? Yes, it is optimizing on the area without losing on the entire bunch of neurons. It's like a bundle, it becomes a bundle that goes. So it's just amazing design. I think some engineer really thought through and brought all this in place. This is all taught by Professor T. Shimuras. I see, the great teacher. And of course, I've been teaching this again to the students. But it's just fascinating every time you go through this. I mean, you don't know. The next such a beautiful signal processor sitting. Any other question? Thanks for asking. Any other question? So this is not connected to what I've seen. Is there any water movement here? Will that get lost? So will ALS patient have loss of hearing? Maybe what? Is there a motor action here? What? There is no motor action. Because everything is not brain is controlled. These are all organs yet. Sound is coming and changing. So this vibration of the bones, these are all because of acoustic. Brain is not having any muscle control to move. So yeah, it's a response of something coming in. Brain doesn't really catch brain motor. Right? So hearing problem, you see, that's why there is no test on hearing. So it's not really there. That's the bad part or bad news. That you will not lose your vision, not lose your hearing, but you will lose response. So bad, right? See everything, realize everything, but you can't. Okay. Any other thing apart from hungry stomach? Other? It affects only motor. No, see, this way, suppose there is kind of channel going back. So one neuron, then another neuron, the action neuron connected. That's it, the deep thread. Another thread. That is the bundle of threads. Now, in this bundle of thread, you don't keep that. So the connection is getting bigger. Number of neurons increases. The number of dead neurons. Oh, that is strong. No, you cannot. And see, we have very little. I do my knowledge. I not in this area of legal side, but knowledge there is no medicine, no surgery, nothing you can do with that. In fact, you do not know today how we can replace a neural bundle with something else. But neurons we have built. That will be a big change in the medical field. But I'm not expert. Yeah. Any other question? Sure, yeah.